Colin Gibson here from the Stop Food Waste programme. I'm here today with Dr. Compost himself, Craig Benton, and we're going to talk a bit about garden waste prevention. Craig, garden waste prevention. Surely when things grow, they grow. How do we prevent that?
Well, especially here in Ireland where we have such a wonderful weather and all the rain, things do grow well. And what we really need to be conscious of is in our design of our garden, we can choose slow growing varieties and dwarf varieties to make sure that we're not putting plants in that grow too big in a little small space.
So this is particularly important for garden settings in cities and towns where space is limited, is that right?
It is, and it's important for people when they're choosing the plants to talk to their nurseries or where they're buying their plants to really choose the right variety. And there are large varieties and a lot of, especially fruit trees, they can be grafted on a dwarf rootstock so that the tree stays small and it can be in its area. So you're not constantly trimming it and creating all this garden trimmings.
And what about grass? Like grass is obviously a big issue. People are cutting it, they are usually throwing it in the corners of their gardens. Is there anything that we can do about grass?
There's two things we can do. There are slow growing varieties which you need to cut less often, so that helps. And the other thing is that, as you know, as you collect the grass and put it into the corner, really it tends to get gooey and it doesn't really compost that well. It takes many years for it to really become a useful product. So what we are suggesting really now is something called grass cycling, where we actually can cut the grass and leave the clippings on the lawn.
I actually tried that one time and I found that an awful lot of grass ended up coming into the house with me because there was big clumps left on the lawn. Is this a common problem?
It is. I mean, it is a whole different way of managing and cutting your lawn. And the most important thing is that you need to cut your lawn more often. If you let the grass grow too long, you get stems. And when you cut the stems and leave them on the top, they will not degrade. If you cut the grass more often, then you're cutting little pieces of leaf. The leaf will then be pushed down into the grass, down to the soil, and degrade and create nutrients, and it actually helps to fertilize the grass.
Okay. So you cut more often, but you cut less often.
That's correct.
Oh, sounds easy. Very good. And what about weeds? I have a lot of weeds around the garden. I pull them out, they come back. Is there any way that I can use compost or composting for this?
Well, there are. There's something called mulching, and what you can do actually is once you've weeded an area, then you can take things like leaves or wood chips or even finished compost, and you can spread it on the top of the soil 2 or 3 inches, and it actually inhibits weed growth.
Okay, and does that give some nutrient value to the plants as well?
Absolutely, and then in one of our other videos we've talked about mulching and how it's done, and actually when it rains, all the rain carries the nutrients from the mulch right into the roots of the plants.
Great, that sounds fantastic. Thanks very much.
Very good.